Unit 21, Apply Physiology. Assignment 2, Gender in Sport. So this first slide's on body composition, which is used to describe the percentages of fat, bone, water and muscle in the human body. Because muscular tissue takes up less space in our body than fat tissue, our body composition, as well as our weight, determines our leanness of a person. This means that two people with an equal height and body weight may look completely different from each other because they have a different body composition. An example of this would be if you had a swimmer who was 6'4" with a weight of 10 stone, and you had a runner who was 6'4" and a weight of 10 stone, they could look completely different but still be the same height and weight, but have a different body composition. So comparisons of body fat percentage of both males and females. So you get women are seen to be obese if they've got a body fat percentage of over 30%, whereas males are seen to be obese if they're over 25%. Women are seen to be overweight if they've got a body fat percentage of 25.1 to 29.9, whereas men are seen to be overweight if they have a body fat percentage of 20.1 to 24.4%. The normal weights, the normal body fat percentages are, so the normal percentages for women are 15 to 25% body fat, whereas males is 10 to 20%. If you are an athletic female, your body fat percentage would be between 0 to 20%, whereas men it would be from 0 to 12%. Whereas body fat could help in certain sports such as swimming, as it provides buoyancy and it makes you float, rather than if you were just solid muscle where you would sink. So so a high body fat percentage can be seen as an advantage in some sports such as swimming, where it provides buoyancy. However, in other sports it can be seen as a negative, such as in running, where it will slow the runner down if they've got extra weight. So they need to be more aerodynamic, and they usually have a ectomorph somatotype rather than an endomorph somatotype for that exact reason. So this slide is about sport domination, or what gender dominates which sport. So women generally compete in sports such as ice skating, gymnastics, tennis, where speed, flexibility and agility all dominate the sport. They're all the main components of the sport. Whereas men dominate sports such as football, rugby, basketball, weightlifting, where physical strength is a requirement for nearly every player on the pitch, and if they don't have them requirements, then they will suffer. Right, so this is a list of sports that all require flexibility when participating. So long distance running, which is both male and female dominated, so it's quite an equal split between them. Gymnastics, obviously that requires flexibility when carrying out routines. That's female dominated. You don't see as many male athletes in the sport. Diving, that's female dominated again. Dance and ice skating, both female dominated. Speed skating, which does require flexibility, also requires muscular strength and endurance when you're going around the ice. That's male dominated. And then synchronised swimming, which is again female dominated. There are no male synchronised swimmers that are recognised. So brilliant. Sports that don't require flexibility are mainly male dominated, such as rugby. That requires a lot of strength and endurance to play the game. Football, again male dominated. Formula 1, male dominated. You don't really see female drivers, although they do have their own championship, but it's not as well publicised as the male version. American football, again male dominated, with a lot of muscular strength needed to take part. Ice hockey, that is male dominated. It's quite a violent sport actually. Horse riding, it's female dominated. And finally hockey, that is female dominated. There's not very many sports that require there's not that many sports that don't require flexibility that aren't male dominated. Right, so this is the differences between female and male flexibility. It's decided at a young age during puberty. In males, the connective tissues in the pelvis tighten, and in some cases the bones actually fuse together, whereas in females they don't fuse together and they widen to get ready for obviously they have the menstrual cycle, and yeah, that's a big part to play in why they're more flexible. Yeah, there is a functional reason as to why females are more flexible. This is to do with pregnancy, and because the extra weight when carrying a baby shifts a woman's centre of gravity far in front of her hips, which makes it harder to stay upright. Therefore they need a greater flexibility in their spine to stay upright, so they don't fall over pretty much. Men are less flexible than females, however men are more muscular. Muscle mass can be a factor when the muscle is heavily developed. That interferes with the ability to take the joints through their complete range of motion. For example, large hamstrings limit the ability to fully bend the knees, which is a reason why men aren't as flexible as women, as women don't have the muscle mass, so they are more flexible, as well as having the functions mentioned earlier. So thermoregulation in women is different to that of a male. For a start, they sweat less and they start to sweat at a higher temperature, both core and body temperature. They have greater protection from dehydration during exercise at high temperatures. This is because they start to sweat less, and they sweat less. They cool quicker because women tend to have a larger body surface area, and because of their higher surface area to mass ratio, women have larger surface area exposed to the environment, which means females will cool quicker than males. So male thermoregulation. Males have greater use of convection and evaporation, which is sweating, and they have a smaller surface area to mass ratio due to a larger skeletal muscle mass, which means therefore they cool down slower. So that's why cool downs are generally carried out for both males and females, but more so for males, so they do cool down quicker, and lactic acid doesn't start to build up, and then otherwise they will fatigue. Testosterone. Both males and females have testosterone in their bodies, but males have a greater amount. It increases the red blood cell count and decreases body fat, promotes sex characteristics. Females have a greater amount of estrogen, which is the hormone that inhibits muscular growth and encourages fat gain. The females have less phosphate, which inhibits muscular contractions. Researchers have determined that men had an average of 72.6 pounds of muscle compared to the 46.2 pounds of muscle found in women. Men also have 40% more muscle mass in the upper body and 33% more muscle mass in the lower body, which was that research was carried out by Goodfellow in 2011. With an increased amount of testosterone in males, it increases muscle mass. An increased muscle mass results in an increase in power, which is good for male-dominated events such as sprinting, where they need more power in their lower body to push off the blocks to get the best start they can. Right, so males versus females in the body size. Men have, on average, taller, with a height of 69.3 inches, a weight of 195.5 pounds compared to a woman's 166.2 pounds, and also a waist circumference in inches of 39.7 compared to a woman who has 37.5. As men are bigger, they have bigger, stronger hearts that are need to pump more blood around the body as it's bigger. Women's hearts aren't as strong, so they've got a higher resting heart rate because they need to work harder to pump the same amount of blood as a man around their body. This has big effects in sport because it's got a big effect in sport because it reduces the heart rate range, which means that their aerobic capacity, they can't work as long aerobically as they could if they had a bigger heart rate range, which affects them in aerobic activities such as running or swimming. Females have shorter appendicular components, which are arms and legs, which result in a smaller height and weight than in males, as males have larger appendicular components. Females also have a smaller, shorter, lighter bone structure than males. This means that females are good in gymnastic events, use balance, flexibility and agility, whereas males use explosive speed in events such as the pommel horse, due to their appendicular components. Like, this is the pelvis skeleton comparison, as you can see from the image on screen. In females, they have to cater for when they are pregnant, so their pelvis is wider than the males. They have a wider pubic arch as well as a wider pubic outlet, compared to the males, who have smaller pubic outlet and pubic arch, however have a wider coccyx. Female figures are typically narrower at the waist than at the bust and hips. Estrogen, the predominant sex hormone in females, causes the widening of the pelvis during puberty to permit for childbirth. Whereas men have broader shoulders and an expanded chest due to the increase of testosterone during puberty, allowing males to inhale more air to supply their muscles with oxygen during physical activity. This means that during aerobic activity they can take part for longer without fatiguing, which is good because obviously they can train harder, work harder, and also it allows them to perform better when running races and competitions. So marathon running. Research shows that women naturally have a lower aerobic capacity, as a result lower blood hemoglobin levels, lower oxygen extraction in the arm and leg muscles, and a smaller stroke volume in the left ventricle of the heart, as the heart is smaller in females. Which means hemoglobin has a lower affinity of oxygen in females, so they are more likely to become fatigued when running long distance rather than males, who aren't as likely to become fatigued as quickly due to them having a higher stroke volume and a higher muscle mass in their legs and arms. So again, sticking with the example of marathon running, there's been research to suggest that women will overtake men in long distance running due to their pelvic adaptations, resulting in a better stride pattern, and as they have a faster fat metabolism, they can also use fat as the main energy source quicker, which will result in them burning fat and becoming more muscular, and so they can last longer by using both fat stores and glycogen stores to use when they take part in activity. And that concludes my Applied Physiology Assignment 2 Agenda screencast. That is the end. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.